Greetings, humans! Welcome back to Sci-Fi Punks, where I like to talk all things sci-fi, movies, comics, video games, novels. If it's sci-fi, let's talk about it. And today, I want to give you my thoughts on what I think is the most underrated Star Wars film of the entire series. In fact, I put this film as my fourth favorite of all of the Star Wars movies. For me, it's the original trilogy, all three of them, and then this film goes right there below those movies. And it's a Disney Star Wars film. And believe me, I am on the same train as everybody else about the Disney Star Wars movies. I think they started off okay, but then they lost the plot pretty quickly, and they suffered from not having a cohesive plan, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people have gone on lots of rants all over YouTube about what's wrong with the Disney Star Wars films, but this is one that I think deserves a lot more love, and it is the Solo Star Wars film. The backstory of Han Solo. It was released in 2018, just shortly after the Last Jedi, Star Wars Episode 8, had been released. And as everybody knows, Star Wars Episode 8 tore the fan base asunder. And it just pissed off so many Star Wars fans that they were just in a really bad mood for the whole next couple years. And so they were not in the mood to accept this Solo Star Wars movie that dropped only a few months later. So it just got a lot of bad vibes from a lot of people. But not from me. I don't know, because I grew up just loving Star Wars. I feel like it's in my DNA to always just at least give it a chance. And I did that, and I was not disappointed because I came out of the theater very satisfied. I really liked Solo. I think it is exactly what it sets out to be, which is a swashbuckling space adventure story. Now, there are some fair criticisms of this movie, and I guess I'll address them. The first one being the actor that they cast to play Han Solo. I think his name is Alden Ehrenreich. Some people say that he doesn't do a good job at playing Han Solo. And I really disagree with this because I think the character of Han Solo in this film is supposed to be around the age of 19 or 20. But when we first got to know him as played by Harrison Ford in the original trilogy, he was like in his mid-30s. So the character that we see in the Solo movie is, a much younger, much more inexperienced version of Han Solo. He should not be the same guy. He should be very different. And I think that Alden Ehrenreich, if that is his name, does a good job at portraying that version of Solo. I can't remember the name of the character, but the guy that Woody Harrelson plays is just awesome. I really think this is an appropriate character to introduce to Han Solo's backstory. He's basically this burnt-out mercenary who's just really cynical and just really hates the kind of life he's built for himself, but knows he can't get out of it. And he serves as Han Solo's mentor. And I just think that it's a great role for him to be in. It's a perfect character for Han Solo, for a Han Solo story. And I just really like Woody Harrelson in the role here. And Woody Harrelson's great. He just always elevates everything he's in. So it's great to have him in a Star Wars film. I also really like that this film isn't afraid to kill people. One thing that you have to give the Disney Star Wars films a lot of credit for is that they're not afraid to kill characters. That's one of the things I respect a lot about the movie Rogue One, is that it definitely wasn't afraid to kill its characters. Another character I really like in this film is the droid. I can't remember what her name is, but she's an interesting character because what she does is she basically addresses an issue that Star Wars has never addressed before, which is, what do the droids think about their lot in life? Because throughout all of the Star Wars films, people are assholes to droids. They basically just treat them like complete scum, just complete second-class, third-class citizens. They get no respect. But at the same time, all these droids seem to have consciousness and feelings. They seem to be very aware of their situation. I always used to wonder, I'm like, do the droids care about how they're being treated? Do they have any opinion on this? And this movie actually addresses this by having a droid that she's constantly preaching to people and constantly bickering and constantly just being an annoying scold about how droids should be treated better. And it's really timely because when this movie was released, and it's still a thing these days. There's people in the world, there's people in the real world like this that are just very, they're called virtue signals, or they're moral grandstanding, woke scolds, if you will. Everyone knows somebody like this. It's a very of the time reference, and it's kind of cool that Star Wars went there and created a character like this, because you're gonna watch this movie in like 30 years, and you're gonna see this character and go, oh yeah, I remember when people used to act like this. So I think it's kind of cool that Star Wars had a character like this in the movie. A lot of people hate this character, but I think that was kind of the point. So I like her for that. I think she's kind of cool, and I think she's an interesting addition to the lore of Star Wars. The other thing I like about this movie is it's a prequel, and I'm generally anti-prequel. I think prequels are almost always a bad idea because they almost always tend to mess up lore. They tend to retcon things that just ruin the pre-established lore. But this film doesn't really do that at all. It's pretty careful with what it does here. Some people criticize it for kind of going over all the highlights of Han Solo's previous life. Like, he meets Chewie in this movie, he gets his blaster, and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's kind of a bit of a nitpick. I don't really think that's that big of a criticism. And besides, you don't actually see Han Solo dump the spice that he's always talking about losing in the original trilogy. That doesn't happen in this film. You don't see him meet Jabba the Hutt or anything like that. So there's still more of his backstory that you don't see in this movie. So I think that's fine. One thing that I think this film does really cool, which was an interesting handout to the fans that not a lot of people talk about, is that Han Solo shoots first at the end. It's a big controversy. Like me growing up in the 90s, I got the original trilogy that hadn't been edited yet, and in it, famously, Han Solo kills Greedo in the middle of their conversation in basically cold blood. He just shoots Greedo, he's tired of talking to him, and he blows him away. And then then George Lucas thought that was too mean, and he, in further releases of the original trilogy, he edited it so it looks like Greedo shoots at Han Solo first, and so Han Solo shoots back in self-defense, and it becomes this whole meme of people like me going around saying, Han shot first, because we all hate that edit. So in this film, at the very end of the movie, Han Solo has a confrontation with Woody Harrelson's character at the end of the movie, and Woody is about to shoot him in cold blood, but Han's wise to what he's about to do, and Han shoots him first. It's an easy reference to miss, so it's not really overt and stupid. So it's just a kind of cool nod to the fans, but also really moves the story along and solidifies Han Solo's character as he's grown at the end of this movie. Another cool thing that I want to give this movie, I'm not really sure it's true or not, but I feel like it actually pays a lot of references to the Han Solo trilogy of novels that was written in the 90s. I actually quite liked these books. They're not perfect, but they were fun, and I actually think that this movie, the Solo movie, actually does pay quite a few references to them. For instance, Han Solo is lovesick over this girl who basically abandons him because she has better things to do. That happens in these novels, and that happens here in this movie, and I think that's also a really cool character beat for the character of Han Solo in general. Is he starts off really lovesick for this girl, and he's willing to do anything for her, but she likes him, but she's got other priorities, and she's kind of over him. And that's really cool for Han Solo's character, because then you see it kind of inform how he reacts to Princess Leia in the original trilogy. I think it's a smart thing to do with his character, and I do think that it adds a lot of complexity to the guy. And then just on the basic things, the action scenes are a lot of fun, lots of cool practical effects, lots of cool stunt scenes, lots of cool new stormtrooper designs, some really interesting outer space stuff where they meet this big Lovecraftian monster. You see the Kessel Run or whatever. So yeah, I actually really like Solo. I would give it like a solid 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10 if I was to rank it. And I really think that it was treated unfairly by the fans just because it had a lot of ill will that had been built up from The Last Jedi. And I think a lot of fans should give it a second chance. Anyways, this has been Sci-Fi Punks. All hail Megatron.